So when I got the opportunity to speak with you this morning, I immediately started praying and asking God, what should I share? What should I teach? What should I cover? And a few days back, I was at the car lane at my school because every morning I have car duty from 7:30 to 7:50. I have to help the kids get out of the car and make it to the sidewalk without someone running them over. And it was raining that morning. Now, I have been caught in the rain many mornings in car duty. I hate starting my day off in the rain. But I had my umbrella over my head, and it was shielding me from the rain. And while the rain fell, I began to notice the umbrella was catching everything, right? It was catching all of the rain that day. It was a good day that day. And what God placed in my spirit was to share with you what it means to be covered by God. Okay, what it means to be covered by God. I'm going to do my very best to share with you what that means. What does it mean to be covered by God? So I want you to take a moment and pray and ask God to help me explain it well, but also to give you an open heart and an open mind. Okay? Psalms 32, and I recommend you write all these down because you know Brother Cody he'll throw a curveball every now and then just to see if you was paying attention. Write these down, Psalms 32 and 1, and you can go back and read all of these later. But the King James Version says, "Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered." Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. So I looked up the word covered. What does that word mean, covered? And one of the definitions I liked was to guard from attack. You're covered. You're guarded from attack. Another definition was to make provisions for. For example, there's enough in my account to cover this check I'm about to write. Does that make sense? Some of us have written checks and we hoped we could cover it, right? But most of us, we don't write checks and hope that we cover. We know before I sign my name on that check, I know in that account I've got enough to cover this check. I can provide the funds that are needed. So as I stood in the rain and the umbrella's over my head, I was covered from the rain, but guess what? I still had to stand in the rain. I still had to stand in the rain. And here is something that I've learned the hard way. All rain doesn't come down the same. Some rain is cooperative and it comes down perfectly overhead. And some rain blows in from the sides at 20, 30 miles an hour. And no matter how much you hold that umbrella, you're still going to get soaked. All rain does not come down the same. And when the rain doesn't get trapped or you're not covered well with your umbrella, you almost feel like this umbrella is useless, right? Have y'all ever been in that situation? Just, what am I even holding this for? My legs are soaking wet, my shoes, I'm sloshing them. What's the point of me holding this umbrella? And you see, being covered by God does not mean, and I repeat, does not mean you will not have to deal with the rain. It does not mean that you will never get wet. And see, the enemy will try his best to trick us, to fool us, to tell us that if you're getting wet, God is not with you. If the rain is falling on your head, you must have done something wrong. That is not true. The umbrella does block the rain, but you still got to stand in it. You still got to endure it. But you know, one thing I've learned is that being prepared for the rain brings comfort and peace. Like when you wake up and you look at the forecast and it says there's a 70% chance of rain. You grab your umbrella, and because you got it with you, there's something about having your umbrella. It takes away some of the about having to deal with rain that day. It's only when we jump out of our cars and we don't have an umbrella that we just, why am I'm about to be soaking wet. And if you're like me, you don't like to get soaking wet because sugar melts. All right, you're still awake, just making sure. It's only when the rain starts to come and we're without a covering that we truly dread our situation. Have you ever sat in your car and just prayed and asked God to stop the rain? Like you started promising stuff like, Lord, I promise if you let the rain stop for 5 minutes, I'm going to pay my tithes next Sunday. Y'all ever done that? I ain't gonna lie, I've done it. Lord, please, Lord, if you just let it, I don't want to get out and be so good. Give me 5 minutes, get in the building, and then you can let it come down again. Y'all never, it's just me? Okay, I've been wasting all these good prayers, okay? The rain won't kill you. The rain will not kill you, but without your covering, the rain will make you miserable. Sometimes life doesn't kill us. But if we don't have our covering, if we don't have Christ in his rightful place, life can be miserable. Miserable. Now get this. God's covering does not mean exemption from the rain, from the pain, or from the experience. It doesn't mean exemption. I'm going to say that at least 20 more times today. Exodus 13 and 21 and 22 says this, and the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. Verse 22 says, he took not away the pillar of cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. So God sends Moses to Egypt, and he says, tell Pharaoh, let my people go. And Pharaoh goes through all these ups and downs. He's not letting them go. There's all kind of plagues, and he finally lets them go, and they're headed out to their freedom. And what God does is he provides a covering. In day, it's a cloud. At night, it's fire. I'm covering you. Follow me. Follow me. Day and night, they could follow him. Day and night, they can continue to follow him. Sounds to me like we should be following him day and night. They have a covering day and night. But guess what? They still had to go through the wilderness. God did not teleport them from Egypt to Canaan land. He didn't say, all right, tomorrow when you wake up, you'll be in the land of milk and honey. He says, I will lead you to the land of milk and honey. But as they walked through the wilderness, they had a covering of cloud by day and fire by night, and all they had to do was follow his lead. But because they did not follow his lead, and because they removed their covering from time to time, they spent 40 years in the wilderness. The Bible tells us, or the scholars tell us, that it was like a 3-day journey from where they were leaving to where they were going, but they spent 40 years because of disobedience. If you remove God's covering, don't be surprised when life takes longer to give you what you want. Deuteronomy 29 and 5 says this, yet the Lord said, during the 40 years that I led you through the wilderness, your clothes did not wear out, nor did the sandals on your feet. I love that. 40 years. Now, I don't know about y'all. I don't have anything that I had 40 years ago. Then again, I'm only 21 and a half, so, you know. I don't own, but some of y'all in the room, y'all might be saying, I got the things I've had for 40 years, but I guarantee you don't have clothes. I had a pair of shoes once, and I love those shoes, and I hadn't worn them in a while. I put them up in the closet, and it was seniors versus faculty basketball day. So I looked in my closet, I said, which shoes am I going to wear for this game? Because I got to be looking fresh, and I'm going to kill these seniors on the court. And I looked up, and I saw these Air Max that I had, and I said, I'm going to wear those one more time, and then I'm going to give them to Goodwill. Because I hadn't worn them in like a year. So I put the shoes on. I'm feeling good. Come out on the floor. I shoot the first 3 of the game. Splash. The crowd goes wild. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Later in the game, I'm driving down the court, and I see this kid coming up to guard me, and I see my principal trailing behind me, and I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to let him catch up, and I'm going to use my principal for a screen. And as soon as I turned, all of a sudden, my foot flopped, and the crowd erupted. I'm like, what are they laughing at? And I looked down, and my foot was here, and my sole was here. The whole sole of the shoe fell apart. And those shoes were only a couple years old. But here's God saying, I took you through the wilderness and your clothes didn't wear out and your sandals stayed strong. See, being covered by God doesn't mean you won't have trouble. It just means the trouble won't impact you like it impacts others. You look at trouble differently. The things that rots another person's life strengthens yours. Your perspective is different. And it's not because of you, it's because you know I'm covered. I'm covered. John 16:33. This is my favorite verse in the Bible. My favorite verse in the Bible. I remember the first time I read this verse, it was almost like the whole earth stopped for a moment. And like it just paused, and I felt this weird just warmth over me, and it almost like as if birds just stopped chirping, like the whole world just froze. So you guys are free to use this as your favorite verse too. John 16:33, and this is what Jesus says to the disciples right before he's about to leave them. He says, these things have I spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation. Tribulation means trouble. It means hard times. It means oppression. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. When you think about this verse, you view trouble differently. When you know you have a covering, you view trouble differently. The storms are still going to come. The forecast of life is sometimes cloudy and filled with rain. No matter how much you want to change the channel, it's going to say it on the next channel too. Because sometimes I watch Leland and I don't like what he says, so I flip it to 4 and see if they tell me something different. He be like, it's hump day. I'm like, I want it to be Friday. Let me go to channel 4. It's still hump day. It's going to be cold, folks. Let me go to channel 2. Maybe they'll tell me it's warm. No, it's still going to be cold. Jesus is telling us here, and in so many places, don't fret. Don't worry. You're covered. You're covered. I got you. Having Jesus tell you, I got you, it settles life. It makes life doable. You're covered. I got you. You're not in this alone. You're covered. I've shown you the way, and I'm with you when it gets hard. The threat of rain does not impact you like it does other people, because you know who runs the rain. Who runs the rain? Who runs the rain? Elijah prayed, and it didn't rain for 3 years. And then he prayed again, and it immediately started to rain. Who runs the rain? God runs the rain. The rain doesn't affect you as much when you know who runs it. God chose to let it rain for 40 days and 40 nights in Noah's day. It destroyed the entire earth. Who runs the rain? God runs the rain. And if he's your covering, the rain doesn't impact you like it impacts everyone else. Everybody is given the opportunity to be covered, but not everyone will accept his covering. Noah preached every single day. You guys get a preaching every once a week. Noah preached every day. They had the opportunity. But when God says it's time and the door's shut, there was only 8 on that boat. And everybody else said, okay, now we believe you, let us in. It's too late. It's too late. Who runs the rain? When the disciples were on the boat and the terrible storm kicked up, they knew that the end of their life was at stake. These are fishermen now. This is what I love about this story. Fishermen know the water. They've been in storms before, but this storm was different. This storm was so bad that they knew that we're about to die. Go wake up Jesus. Jesus, don't you care we're about to die? Who runs the rain? Jesus gets up and he walks out. He yawns. He says, man, I can't believe y'all woke me up for this. Peace, be still. I'm finna go back to bed. O ye of little faith. If I'm on the ship with you and I run the rain, you have nothing to worry about. The problem is he really your covering? Because if you know he's your covering, you look at rain differently. They kept saying, ladies and gentlemen, we need rain. That's what they kept saying on the news. And I'm like, I'm sick of rain. It's rained 3 days in a row. We still need rain. Our drought levels are about, I'm like, I got enough rain. I got to go stand in it every morning for 30 minutes. I got enough rain, Leland. Let it rain at 8:09 and then I don't mind because I'm indoors. But they kept saying, we need more. We need more. See, the rain that destroys one is the prayer for another. The farmer is praying for that rain, and me and you are going, Lord, please let it stop. And the farmer's like, Lord, please let it come down. And we like, Lord, please let it stop. And the farmer's like, Lord, please let it come down. Well, who do I listen to here? It's going to rain on both of y'all. It's going to rain on both of y'all. So God wants me to share with you that if you are in him, you're covered. Matthew 5:45 in the B and C clause. This is the New Living Translation. It says this, for he gives his sunlight on both the evil and the good, and he sends the rain on the just and the unjust alike. Who has to endure the rain? Everybody. Just because you do right doesn't mean wrong isn't going to happen to you. It just means you're covered when it does. It's coming. The rain is coming for all of us. Being covered by God does not exempt us from life's issues. I told you I'd say it a lot. I'm going to say it a few more times just in case you're still not listening. We get car insurance. It doesn't guarantee we won't have a wreck. I would say raise your hand if you had a wreck, but I don't want to call nobody out. It'd be good to know who needs to leave before I do. We get renter's insurance, but it doesn't guarantee you won't have destruction. You come home and your apartment's burned up, not because of something you did wrong, but because your neighbor fell asleep with their turnip greens cooking. And now everything you own is gone. I didn't know about renter's insurance when I had an apartment. And someone broke in my apartment. I had just bought this brand new camcorder. It was expensive too. I put it on my credit card. Bad choice. They broke in my house and stole it, and now I'm paying for a camcorder I don't own anymore. And that's when God spoke to my spirit and said, stop buying stuff you don't have the money for. Wait, save up for it, and then buy it. And by the time you save up for it, because I'm so tight with my money, for me, I talk myself out of buying it. We buy life insurance for the inevitable. We know what's going to happen because we were born dying. We buy life insurance to take care of our expenses and our family when we're gone, but it doesn't guarantee you won't see death. Coverage doesn't mean exemption, but it does enhance endurance. Because of his coverage, when everything in life starts to go crazy, we can endure it because we know God will always make things right. When you got in your car and you came to church today, most of us wasn't scared we would have a wreck because we know we got insurance. If I wreck my car, it's hard to say we ain't gonna get another one just like it, but I'm not totally out in the cold. But when you don't have insurance, when you don't have a covering, oh man, you would think those would be the people that drove the safest. Wrong. They're the ones with the dents on both sides, still driving 95 and a 35, right? Please tell me this is not just me. Please tell me when y'all see a car that's dented up and they driving crazy, do y'all say, see, that's why your car look like that now? Okay, good. It's not just me. Thank God. I was going to repent right on the spot. Let me share something with you that will be encouraging to you when life gets really hard. Not hard, but really hard. Write this one down. This is Job chapter 1, verse 6 through 12. And I want you to listen to it. I want you to try to visualize. This is the New Living Translation. I want you to try to see this in your mind like a movie. Okay? One day the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser Satan came with them. "Where have you come from?" the Lord asked Satan. Satan answered the Lord, "I've been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on." Then the Lord asked Satan, "Have you noticed my servant Job? He's the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity." Could you imagine if God could say that about you? Some of us like, that's why I don't do it, because I don't want him to say that about me, because I know the rest of this story, and I don't want the Lord to send the devil after me. The devil's coming after you anyway. He says he's blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil. Verse 9, Satan replied to the Lord, "Yes, but Job has a good reason to fear God. You have always put a wall of protection around him and his home and his property. You have made him prosper in everything he does. You've covered him. That's why he praises you. Look how rich he is." This is what the devil says. "But reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." All right. "You may test him," the Lord said to Satan. "Do whatever you want with everything he possesses, but don't harm him physically." So Satan left the Lord's presence. I could only imagine Satan's smile when he left. I'm gonna wear Job out. Ooh-wee. All right, here we go. All right. So this is when the rain starts to come. At first it trickles. Somebody came and stole his cattle. It's cattle. You get more cattle. Then it starts coming down heavier. They came and got sheep. They came and got this. And then it starts coming down from every angle. All these runners keep coming to tell him the next bad thing, the next bad thing. Job, I really got to tell you something. You might want to sit down for this. So the winds was blowing, right? I mean, it was so heavy. I've never seen wind blow like that. But all your kids were in the same house. They were having a good time. And then the roof collapsed down and all your kids are dead. This is what happened to Job. Listen at how God describes him. "Have you noticed my servant Job? He's the finest man in all the earth. He's blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil." This is how God describes him. And yet he still dealt with the rain. You don't think he's covered? Absolutely. But that didn't exempt him from the hardest life we've ever read about. I don't think we've read anybody's life that was as hard as his. The storms come, but then I want you to skip down to verse 20, and we'll read 20 through 22. They kept coming and giving them bad news and bad news and bad news. In verse 20, it says, Job stood up and tore his robe in grief. Then he shaved his head and fell to the ground to worship. He said, "I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord." In all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. The devil told God that Job only worshiped him because he had him covered. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems to me that a lot of us pray more when more trouble comes. A lot of us praise more when more trouble comes. A lot of us attend church more when more trouble comes, when it appears our covering is not there. So let me go back and get my covering. But what if you stayed covered and the trouble still comes? Do you have it within you to be like Job and praise even though the rain is pouring on you? We always have a choice. When the rain comes, we can choose to worship or rebel. It's your choice. Worship or rebel. And look what it said Job did. He tore his robe in grief. He shaved his head, because that's what real men do. And then he fell to the ground to worship. You would think that's a time I don't feel like worshiping. Everything is gone. Everything is gone. Everything is gone. Not one of my children, all of them. I can't find it in me to praise it. I'm just devastated. He tears his robe in grief. He shaves his head. He falls to the ground and worships. So he chose to worship and not to rebel. We can choose to sulk in the rain or sing in the rain. But you're still going to have to deal with the rain. Coverage does not equal exemption. Have I said that enough yet? Have y'all got it yet? Okay. Daniel prayed 3 times a day. Guess where Daniel ended up? In the lion's den. Do you think he was covered? I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was so covered because he made sure he covered himself 3 times a day. Lord, just in case I'm not covered right now, I just want to make sure you and I are in communion right now. Noon hit. Lord, I was thinking about you about an hour ago, and just in case my covering has shifted or moved, I just want to make sure we're good. In the evening, he said, Lord, this is me, Daniel, coming again. It's almost time for bed, but I just want to make sure you got me covered as I sleep. He's in the lion's den. The 3 Hebrew boys stood tall when everybody else bowed down. You think they were covered? Sure they were. But they still had to face the fire. They still had to face the fire. When God covers us, it means that although we may have to enter unwanted situations, we won't ever have to do it alone. You still may have to deal with the unwanted situation. It's just that God will be there with you. And if he's there with you, you can endure all things. God told us that he will never leave us nor what? Forsake us. Never. We only quote that when things are good, though. Have you noticed that? I mean, my guy said he will never leave me nor forsake me. Praise God. But what happens when you feel forsaken? Will you still quote that verse? More than quote it, will you hold on to it? Will you live by it? Will you keep pressing on knowing he said this and I believe it? I feel forsaken. Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me? He felt forsaken. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. I will push forward. I will keep being obedient. I will walk with you no matter how much the rain. I'm supposed to be covered. Why is this rain getting on me? It's getting on everybody. It's just not destroying you. Even though you may have to endure the den like Daniel or face the fire like the Hebrew boys, when you're covered, the lions lose their appetite. They're like, I ate a month ago. He don't even look that good. The Hebrew boys got thrown in the fire and it did not consume them. The Bible says that they came out not even smelling like smoke. I walked past somebody smoking the other day and they were like far away from me and it just snuffed my air out of my lungs. Like I can't breathe around smoke. Right? I can't handle it. I don't know why. My lungs just don't do well around smoke. And they were way over there. Imagine being in the fiery furnace. They came out of the fire, not out of the smoky area, out of the fire, and didn't smell like smoke. Being covered does not mean exemption. I just shared with you how you get car renters and life insurance to cover you in those areas. But here's my question. Do you have full coverage? Because there's a difference. Now, when God gave me this next statement, it blessed me tremendously. So I'm telling you this because you may want to write this one down. Are y'all ready? I don't want to go until everybody has their pen ready because I don't want you to call me. What was that you said again? It's going to cost you then. Are you ready? Listen to this. We cannot have full coverage benefits with a liability lifestyle. When God planted that in my spirit, I was like, wow, whoa. I want to lean and depend on you, but I want to give you this much of me. I don't want to pay full coverage, but if I have a wreck, I want a new car. It don't work that way. If you got a liability lifestyle, you're going to have liability coverage. You need full coverage. Ephesians 6:11 says, put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. That's full coverage. Put on the whole armor of God. And then he breaks down what the whole armor is. You need even your shoes. You got to put on you can't go out to battle without your shoes on. Every time I see somebody without shoes on, it just makes me go, put some shoes on. I don't even walk in my house without shoes on. I got to always be ready for battle. My wife may burn my toast. I got to be ready for battle. You know what I mean? I got my house shoes on just in case I got to run, you know. When you don't have full coverage, you better believe that the enemy is going to attack you exactly where you're not covered. So you're like, you know what, I'm going to put the breastplate on, but this helmet it's heavy, and I just don't like fighting with my helmet on. That's when you get hit in your thoughts. That's when your head explodes with all kinds of demonic images and all this stuff. You know what, I'm going to wear the helmet, but man, this shield is too heavy. That's when the devil shoots all those darts. And yeah, maybe you got a chest plate, but you start feeling impact that you shouldn't be feeling. Psalms 27:5 says this, for in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacle he shall hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. So sometime when the trouble comes, God will hide you like a mother bird that puts them under the wing, and the enemy can't find them, and the wind can't affect them, and the rain doesn't fall upon them. Sometimes he will hide you, but other times he will say, take what I provided and put it on. Put it on. Do I have to put all this on? The enemy's about to shoot them darts. And if you got everything on like I told you, you will be able to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. You keep running because you know you're not covered. That's what they say, run for cover, right? You don't have to run for cover when you covered already. I just stand here and fight, or stand here and watch God fight for me. Can I give you some advice? You got to nod your head like this for me to, okay, all right. Let God cover you. Don't try to cover yourself. Genesis 3:7, Adam and Eve had messed up. And when they messed up, they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. They knew they were naked. They were naked all along, but now they knew they were naked. And so they sewed fig leaves to cover themselves, right? Try to cover themselves. But if you look further down in verse 21, this is what it reads. This is the New Living Translation. It said, and the Lord made cloths out of skin, or clothes out of skins for Adam and his wife, and dressed them. The leaves didn't do the trick. God covered them with skins, animal skins. We're still covering ourselves with animal skins to this very day. Some of y'all's animal skins look really nice. Some of y'all some expensive animal skins. But if you cover yourself, it won't be efficient. It won't be effective. But if God covers you, then you have the protection you need from everything. Can I give you some more advice? Yeah, okay, there we go. You know, I've learned that some people don't like you to tell them what to do. So instead of saying, can I give you advice, you say stuff like, can I make a suggestion? Because when you say, can I make them a suggestion, they feel like, well, you ain't telling me what to do. Yeah, go ahead, make your suggestion. So can I make a suggestion? Whatever you do, whatever you do, are y'all listening? Whatever you do, please don't try to cover or conceal your sin. Don't cover that, okay? Acknowledge it, own up to it, bring it to God, and go and sin no more. Don't try to hide your sin. Don't try to cover it up, because in Romans 4:7-8, it says, blessed are those whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the one whose sin the Lord will never count against them. You're blessed when you bring it to him and he goes, don't even worry about it. You're covered. You're covered. But when he covers you, does he cover you with the idea that you will return to what you just left? You can answer that one. When he covered you, did he cover you with the idea that you would go back to what you just left? I'm waiting on your answer. I can't hear you. No one knows this answer? If mama cleaned you up, would she expect you to go back out and jump in the mud? No. When God covers you, does he expect you to go back and jump in the mud? No. Maybe my question wasn't asked well, because y'all get it now. Proverbs 28:13 says this, he that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. If you try to cover your sin, your life is going to collapse. Remember when David took Bathsheba and he tried to cover it? If you didn't finish reading the story, death entered his household. He lost the first baby. Then he had sons and daughters that were doing all kind of crazy stuff. One brother raped his stepsister. Then that brother of that sister wanted to kill that brother. And then one son wanted to kill King David because he wanted to be king. All of this because he tried to cover his sin. Please hear this. Trying to cover your sin will only keep God from being able to cover your sin. If you try to cover it up, God can't cover it. You have to bring it to him and say, I don't want this life anymore. I thought I liked it. I don't like it anymore. Let me give you a few more and then I'm out of here. God's coverage leads to confidence. Psalms 91:5-7 says this, don't be afraid of the terrors of the night, nor the arrows that fly in the day. Do not dread the diseases that stalks in the darkness, nor the disaster that strikes at midday. Though 1,000 fall at your side, though 10,000 are dying around you, these evil will not touch you. No matter what comes against us, day or night, knowing that we're covered by God should snuff out our fear. Like our fear just dissipates knowing that God is our covering. It's only when we don't know if we're covered that we're frightful and we're fearful. The Lord is telling us, don't be afraid of what's going on in this world. I got you covered. The world can be chaotic all around us, but our confidence should stay intact. Our trust should never waver, and our strength should never fade. I said a lot today, and I pray I didn't confuse any of you, but I pray that I encouraged all of you. So let me leave you on this. In the movies, when they're in a shootout, you know, they'll be behind, they're like, shh, pow, 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 pow. Y'all seen those movies, right? And then he looks at the other one and goes, cover me, right? Cover me means you draw the fire to you so I can get away. Cover you? No, you cover me. No, you cover me. No, you cover me. I just want to make sure I'm not the only one who thinks this way. Y'all ever watched the movie and the bad guys are shooting 1,000 bullets and ain't hitting nobody? And you're like, who hired them? How are you the bad guy? You can't hit nobody? The leader needs to pick better bad guys. So here's the thing. When you say cover me, it's so that you can get away, Jesus said, I'll cover you while you get away. He took all the fire that was directed toward you. You see, he was sinless, but he took on the fiery darts of all the sinful. He said, I'm going to cover you. You run that way, I got you. And so he took on all of the shots that the enemy had so that you and I could get away. But when he rescued us, does he intend for us to go, hold on, I haven't been shot yet. Let me come back to this firefight here. Does he intend for you to return to the shootout? No, you've been set free. Run far from this. Jesus, his sacrifice on the cross was him taking every shot that the world would have to absorb. He loves you that much that he would cover you and let you go free. Now, I say I love y'all, but I'm not covering y'all. I love my wife and kids, but they may have to cover themselves too. I'm just saying, only one would choose to cover me. And since I know that I'm covered, I choose to live out my days in obedience to the one that covered me. 1 Peter 3:18 says, for Christ also hath suffered once for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God. That's the reason he covered you, to bring you back to God. So my mission today was to share with you what it means to be covered by God. My prayer today is that you will not leave this place without your covering. So if you haven't given God your heart, if you haven't surrendered your soul, you are not covered. No matter how much you're going to put in the offering basket in a moment, or how much you put in the Cash App, no matter how many days you've gone to church this year, if Jesus is not the Lord of your life, you are not covered. I beg you today, I mean literally beg you, beseech you. That's what Paul says. I'm begging you. Don't leave this place without letting Jesus cover you. So I'm going to say thank you for giving me your ear. And now please give God your heart. God bless you.
Did you know that you could actually support the YouTube channel and podcast? That's right. If you have a desire to be a blessing to the show, there's many different ways you can do it. We have Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, and you can use the website to make a donation. Any donation will help, and every donation will be used to pour into the lives of others. So if you want to click on the description of this video, you can find all of the information you need to make a donation. God bless you, and thank you for your support.